Well, hey, y'all, and welcome to the Everyday Truths podcast, where we make faith real and relevant so we can live it out in our everyday lives. My name is Sherry. I am the creator and host of the Everyday Truths podcast. And today I have something extra special for you. We are kicking off a new series called Letters to Me. And in this series of episodes, I've invited some folks to come in and to write a letter to a younger version of themselves, to hear what it is that they would say to this younger version of themselves, how they would encourage them, how they would tell them about how far God has brought them. And the stories we were able to capture are so beautiful, and I know that they are going to speak to everyone who hears them. Today, I am joined by Lyndy Stokes, and she has such a unique story that I am so excited for you to hear. Lyndy is an author and a mom and a wife and just an overall awesome person. And so excited to share with you just the cool work that she does and the very unique story that she has. And so let's get into it. Well, hey there, Lyndy.
Hey.
How you doing?
Good.
I am so glad that you're here today.
I'm super excited.
So excited for you to share your story today and to share the letter you've written today. But before we jump into that, we want folks to get to know you some. And so we're just going to play Would You Rather.
Okay.
And I have 500 of them here, and we're just going to go for
all
it.
All of them? All 500?
Yeah.
Today?
Oh, yeah. We're going to go through them all. Yeah, for sure. All right. Here's the first question. Would you rather have a perfectly clean house or a full house of guests?
A perfectly clean house.
Right?
Because that doesn't happen. I have 3 kids.
Yeah.
Under 6.
It's like I don't even care that much about the house being clean. Yeah. It's more that I don't want that many people in my house.
Well, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, that's too many people. Yeah. And so okay. Let's see. I feel like I know this answer very easily for you. Would you rather live in the city with community or in the country with quiet?
Country with quiet.
Right? Like, why would you want to be around noises? Jeez Louise. All right, would you rather have to give up coffee or your phone?
Well, I don't drink coffee, so that's
Dang,
easy.
Girl. I know, I called. I was like, what do you want from Starbucks? You were like, nothing. I was like, weirdo.
Yeah. No, everyone's like, oh, when you go to college. Oh, when you start teaching. Oh, when you have kids. I'm like, no. But I drink that Coke, so I mean.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. It's still not great.
So Wes, actually, he never drank coffee, never did anything like that. And then we got married, and somehow I got him hooked. Actually, we were out of coffee this morning. And he probably died on the way to work. I mean, I don't even know, driving out to the ranch. All right, let's see. Would you rather have, I like this one. Would you rather have a fridge that restocks itself or a car that drives itself?
A fridge.
Right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be convenient to have a car that, but I don't like meal plate, like trying to figure out the grocery list. No.
And then
going to get it, even if it's delivered, you still have to do the list. Yeah, no.
No. Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Wes does the list. It does the grocery stuff at our house, and sometimes I'm like watching him make the list. I'm like, I feel like it would be just easier if you just went to the store.
Yeah.
Like at some point, it's just like, would it be?
Yeah, but then I get like more
just...
stuff if I'm at the store because I'm like, oh, I think we need this, but maybe not. Or I'm just hungry, so yes.
Yeah, Wes is such a weirdo. He will go to the store and he will only get what's on the list, like a psychopath. Yeah. He also doesn't listen to music while he drives in the car. He listens to
Colin.
What?
No.
It's too much.
I need.
What is that?
Even at home, I need something going on.
It's like you like yourself that much? Yeah. You can just like be in your own head? No. Like what is happening like with this?
That's not safe. I can't.
Oh man. Like, oh gosh.
Maybe that's why they miss exits.
Oh my gosh, does he miss exits? Oh my gosh, yeah. So we talked about that.
Because you're in your head.
Oh my gosh,
you should pay attention more.
Right?
Yeah.
Wes misses exits constantly.
Yes. Yeah, I'm always like.
That's so funny.
Cool.
That's so funny. Oh gosh, it's just like you just watch it come and go. Yeah. That's it. Well, people out there that don't listen to music, let us know. Do you tend to miss your exits? Because it sounds like that may very well be the case.
Inside.
Yeah. Let's try one more. All right, if you could only afternoons, you only have one option forever.
Okay.
Would you rather have or just generally, any moment, you could only choose one. Would you choose nap or snack?
I don't know.
You don't know if you would choose a nap or a snack? I would always choose a nap.
I feel like my instinct is like a nap. Yeah.
A nap.
Because I could always use a nap.
Yeah. I could live without a snack.
But I like to eat. So I guess, like, what snack is it?
I don't know. Oh, yeah, that's a really good question.
Like, if it's pretzels every day, I'll get tired of that quick. Like, some chips and queso every day?
Oh, see, it's interesting. It is a complicated question. But the thing is, like, I am a grown-up.
Yeah.
I can always go get a snack.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
But a nap.
No, you can't take a nap all the time.
No, you can't.
True. Okay, if that, yeah.
I think for that reason,
yes.
Yeah. I think, so I think for nap for sure. Snacks, I'm a grown-up.
Yeah.
It's like
I
the
can
kids
go to
are
the
like,
store
why can
and get a cake whenever I want.
I know. Why do we it's like, okay, so it was a few years ago and I actually, I play music and I needed, I needed in quotations, a new guitar for some specific things that I was doing. And I was like, I kept joking about it and I was like, haha, like I don't really need it or whatever. And it's like, cause I'm like, it's too expensive because instruments are expensive or it's all of these things. And Wes finally looks at me one day. He's like, you're a grown up. He's like, go buy a guitar. He's like, I was like, I am a grown up. I can't go buy a guitar. It's like, what, like, but it's like, it just doesn't register.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I can have cake whatever I want. Like, it's like, sometimes you're like, no, there are rules.
Yes.
There are
rules.
Have
cake for breakfast, actually.
Actually, you can.
It has, do whatever you want.
It has eggs in it.
And milk sometimes.
Yep. Sure. Yeah. It has all the things. According to Bill Cosby, it is an appropriate.
Oh my gosh. Yes. It's exactly what I was thinking. Yes.
That is great. Give us chocolate cake. All right. Well, like I said, Lyndy, I'm so glad you're here. And we are, I want folks to, other than knowing your would you rather, knowing that you'd rather, have a nap than a snack. Yeah. It's the right choice.
Important stuff.
Rather have self-stocking fridges instead of cars that drive you places. Yeah. And so, but I want to just because we're going to talk about your story and we're going to kind of walk through some stuff and get to know you, but just tell us like, hey, we're meeting someplace. And I'm like, oh, hey, I'm Sherry. Like, tell me about yourself. What's like the, the snippets that you give people?
I don't know. Let's see. I wish I could have see what I wrote down.
No. Like, this is just like, no, just like you're married. What's your husband's name?
So yeah, I'm married to Colin. 8 years in
Wow.
August. We have 3 kids. 2 or almost 3.
You have almost 3 kids?
Yeah, I have almost 3 kids. No, a 2-year-old that is almost 3, a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old.
Wow. So it's busy.
It's slightly busy.
Yeah. All the time.
Yeah. And I moved into my childhood house 2 years ago.
It's like I knew that, but I forgot that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And so why I said that, sorry, Lyndy and I, we do know each other. Mm-hmm. Lyndy is actually my husband Wes's cousin. Mm-hmm. And so that's how we met. She's way cooler than I am. So excited that she's here. But yeah, so it's you guys are in your childhood home. That's right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fun stuff.
Yeah. So my husband jokes, he's like, the only people who haven't lived in this house are like us 3 guys that married it. And I'm like, yeah.
Oh wow, yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, because everybody else. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Awesome. So, Colin, your husband, you have 3 awesome kids. I'm sure you guys are busy all the time. Now, you have kind of a unique ministry. And I don't know, would you call it a ministry?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always where I sit with like the podcast and stuff. I'm like, it's a ministry, but it's not. Yeah. And so you have a unique ministry that I love following along with. You can, and I'll make sure to drop the info of all of Lyndy's stuff so that you guys can follow along too. But tell me a little bit about what your ministry's called and just kind of what its purpose is.
So it's called Light and Truth Company. And it started because my daughter, so I like annotate, highlight all the stuff in my Bible. And so one day after church, she was like, hey, can you teach me how to make my Bible colorful like yours? Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, yes. But then thinking through like, well, you can't just be like, here's your markers, go color. So coming up with like different ways to help her like think through why she was highlighting or underlining and stuff. And then it just turned into this. I was making a Bible study for her. And then someone was like, well, other people might be interested. So it's turned into that. And now it's just helping other families get into the Word together and learn together.
Yeah, that's super cool. I love how you just let your daughter with your relationship with your daughter become this like lens for a need that maybe existed elsewhere. And I love that. What she saw was, I want my Bible to be colorful. And you took that opportunity as a parent to go, hey, let's look at like how to study scripture or how to see who God is or all of those things and met her there. I love that. I do have one question though, because I know folks that are big into like stationery, their highlighters, their pens, and their stuff like that. How hard is it to let, or do you let your kids use like your good highlighter stationery stuff? Yeah. That's what I thought.
No, they have like the Crayola, like
Yeah.
little, and then they have their own like Bible. And I had to get over the whole like, well, it doesn't look perfect because it's the 6-year-old
Yeah.
doing it. I'm like, it's fine. It's their Bible. It's fine. It's what they're learning. It's fine. It's fine.
It's funny. It's so funny. As soon as it's because I just didn't know that little glimpse of the story. And that's so funny because I can totally, because I do like hand lettering work, or I have in the past, and like the kids will be like, markers. I'm like, don't do it.
Don't,
Like,
yeah.
that's, no, those are mama's markers.
Yeah,
Like,
they're
it's
my
just,
special
here's
highlighters.
just-
And yeah.
and then it's like you let them use them like once, and then it's like every day. It's like, but what about that purple one right there? Like, it's like, anyway. No, I love that. And so it was a passion that you had and a connection that you had with your daughter that then you allowed to kind of fan out from there. We talked about this, just having similar experiences with our kids, just things that click and work for your family that then you discover click and work for other people's family and vice versa. Yeah. And so that's so awesome. And that's such a great thing about being in community with one another, is just that opportunity to learn from one another. And so you put out videos showing parents resources, correct? Tell me just about some of the things like that you do.
Yeah. I try to make resources like that are easy to share the gospel, like with your kids or just like those around you. So like for Valentine's Day, I made these like gift tags that, like there's always like, oh, to the teacher who did this, but none of the, like mine were like biblical. So I had like Bible, like the teacher who loved me well and I had a Bible verse, the one that was patient with me in Bible. So like easy way to slip in like the gospel, without being like, so let's sit down, but you don't have any time. So I'm going to easily slip this in.
Yeah.
And like share. But then, I have these placemats that, like when my kids go to restaurants, if they don't have coloring stuff, then it's like these placemats that are maybe like Jonah and the whale or Peter and Jesus are walking on the water. Just things where it's like, I can easily bring in the gospel to like everyday situations and just talk to my kids or whoever about them.
Yeah,
easily.
I love that. And I love, that's my heart, right?
Yeah.
Everyday truths. It's like, it's those truths that aren't like these, I mean, they're huge, they're big things, but they fit in the small moments of everyday life. And so I love that. And so these resources that you create, are these things folks can download? Are these they purchase them? They're on Canva. Yeah. Like how do folks interact with these cool things that you create?
Yeah, all this, these resources, they're on Etsy, they're on my website, the books are on Amazon.
Let's talk about that because you've written more than one book. You're so much fancier. I've been working on a book for like my whole life, never done it. You've just been firing these out. Like these are amazing. And so I have one at my house called Adopted Twice. Very cool. I have it's like a study.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into some of that part of your story here in a second. But what's this one that you've brought with you?
This one is Creation and Covenant. It's the book of Genesis. And it's for kids. So it like goes through.
You can hold it up and
the
stuff.
Thing,
folks can see it. Yeah.
The thing that's consistent throughout all of it is highlight each time you see God's name in blue. So the only time you'll use blue is like to highlight God's name. It's like to get that visual of like God is in every story. And then as I was going through it, I was realizing like, oh, like when it gets to Joseph, that part's not there. Like there's no highlight God's name because it's not explicitly said there, but thinking through, well, God was still working through his story. Like, let's shift from I see him to I know he's there because this is how he works.
Yes. Well, and then you do though in that story have those key moments. It's like, but God was with Joseph, and so it's like terrible. Hey, but God was still in it with them. So cool. I love that. Yeah.
And then so it goes through like a see, think, do, like inductive way for kids, and so relating it back to like simple things for kids. It's like the Tower of Babel. Then it talks about like we might all speak English. If you're reading this, you do because I
wrote it in English.
But God understands us, all the languages. It doesn't matter if you speak English or Spanish or French. Like, and so just talking about how we're all image bearers of Christ, even though we might not speak the same language, and relating how we all speak different languages now to the Tower of Babel.
Wow.
Like, relating it to
I love it because it goes beyond like story Bibles are incredible. You should absolutely read them with your kids. You should absolutely like that. It's fantastic, but it can be very Like I read it, you listen,
Mm-hmm.
maybe we talk about it,
Right.
you know, cool. I love the interactive nature of this
Mm-hmm.
because it's allowing them to interact and study at their
Mm-hmm.
level
Yeah.
and allows them to see like, hey, when we dig in a little bit more, we see a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more. Like that's really, really
Yes.
cool. I
Yeah.
love that.
And taking ownership. Like my kids love to get their markers, their whatever, and get their Bible out and be like, okay, let's all do this in our own Bibles, but we're still doing it together.
Okay.
Versus just like, here's the book we're going to read out of.
Neat.
Don't touch it. Don't like it's, yes, we still are respectful of it, but we're going to interact with it and learn.
Yeah, because I don't think God's getting real angry when you accidentally the lollipop stuck to the side of
Right,
the thing.
yeah.
But it's like, but the fact that it's out and it's being used and it's
clearly
all of those
it was
things,
open
yes.
and you were able to. Yeah,
Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how the lollipop got there.
Yeah.
It's not something that's happened at my house.
Yeah, right.
But it's kids. But it's anyway, I love that. And I love your unique angle on this. And so let's rewind back to your others. It's not just like your Creation Co stuff is specifically kids, but you haven't always exclusively done work
Right.
for kids. And
Right.
so, and I think this is going to feed well into your story. And so the study that I have at my house is called Adopted Twice. And this feeds into so much of your story that I'm excited
Yes.
to jump into. And so what, this particular book, that one, tell me why you wrote that and give me a glimpse of what it's about for a second, because that feeds well into your story too. So yeah.
So Adopted Twice it goes through the stories of Moses, Ruth, Jesus, and then us as adoptees, because I'm adopted, and just looking at how God worked before their story, before they were born, when they were born, and then after, and just how God's hand was in it through all of it. They didn't know it before because they weren't born, but being able to look back and be like, oh, I can see God working. And just how that relates to our life, because he's always working, whether you're adopted or not, he is always working in your life. And just being able to see that. And then Adopted Twice, because as Christians, we are adopted into God's family, but it takes on a whole new meaning or understanding, at least for me, when I think about like, I was adopted. I took on my parents' name. Everything about them is mine. And that's how it is once you become a Christian and your faith is in God, you are co-heirs with Christ. You are part of his family, and there's nothing that can separate you from that.
I love all of those pieces together, that you've taken your story, just like you've done with your kids, you've taken your story and what God's done, what you've seen God do in your life, and taken it and gone big picture and helped others see from your unique perspective. I mean, it's a significant gift. That's just a blessing to others. And so I love that angle. And so I'd love to dive into your story, because I know that having been adopted was is a massive part of your story. And I've been fortunate to know several people that have been adopted, and it's always a significant part of your story. And so for a multitude of reasons. But something I loved about what you were saying was how you really highlighted how God was with them even, before they were born and when they were young. Cause I think so often we can see like an event in a moment, like, oh, this was the beginning, but understand that God is all around that and isn't limited to the moments where we recognize that he's there. Super cool. And so let's start there. You were adopted. How old were you when you were adopted?
2 days old.
2 days old. Yeah.
Didn't know any different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of life lived in those 2 days.
Yes.
Yeah. So you were 2 days old and you were adopted, and you were the oldest, correct? Of how many?
There's 3 of us.
Yes.
And I'm adopted. The middle sister is adopted, and then the third is biologically my parents.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you guys are like really close in age, right? You're like stair step.
We stair step. Where me and my closest sister were 10 months apart.
Wow.
So that's fun. And then, so there are times we're also the only like blonde blue eyes. And so there was a time where it was like, oh, y'all are twins. Cause for about a month and a half, we are the same age.
Yes.
And so whenever it's her birthday, I'm like, no, it's my birthday too. I am now a year older, because we are not the same.
This is not what happens.
Yeah. Now it's just a joke, because we're in our 30s now. And I'm like, oh, it's my birthday too. And she's like, no.
That's so funny, because it's like you're like, you're working so hard to like be like, no, we're not twins. But that is the most twin energy ever.
Right, yeah.
Have you ever met a set of twins that did not know who was older?
Right?
Like it's like to like the second.
Yes.
And so anyway, it's very much twin energy
right,
anyway.
yeah.
No, but yeah, and so adopted. And so I'm curious, and I've never asked this. I don't think, but like because I don't know that I've ever known anyone who had multiple adopted siblings in the same family. Oh no, I have, but I never asked this question. Do you think that made it easier in some ways to understand adoption because there were more than one of you? It's not like you were like, I don't know, odd man out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It was just a normal part of, like, we always knew, my mom has stories of, like, when I was 3 of like me saying things where I understood that I was adopted, but it didn't really it didn't change anything for me until I was like 13, 14 when I was like, oh, which that's just a hard time in anybody's life. Yes. So just throw in other things so it was just hard then. But before that, like that was my party trick, like 2 truths and a lie. Like I would throw that in and everyone was like, oh, that's the lie. I'm like, actually, it's not. Like
that's so funny.
I was like, I loved it. I told everyone it was my favorite thing to tell. I was so proud of it. Yeah. And then
because it's so unique. It's so unique.
And it was like, I loved it. And I mean, I ended up having questions, but then my sister who's adopted also, like, she was, I don't know, probably 4 or 5. And she clued in that she was adopted. And the next morning she was like, hey, did you know we were adopted? Like, to me. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, it's great, right? And that was it. Like, no questions, like nothing. She was okay. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, but I have questions. Like, I need answers. In some of it was like medically, like, yeah, because sometimes it's just good to know your medical history.
Well, of course you're going to be curious.
And then there's other times where it was like, I have questions, but I don't actually know the questions. Yeah. And that was like, was the hard part of,
like, I wouldn't stop information if it came to me, but you weren't necessarily seeking it out.
And it's like, why? So like I ended up wanting to meet my biological family, but it was always like, but why? And I'm like, because it's not like I want to be with them. Mm-hmm. It's just I have questions, but I don't know why. There was just like this void that I didn't know at the time was needing to be filled. Yeah, and it's not always even like in instances like this. It's not even like there's something missing. Mm-hmm. It's that like there's like, but it's like I need to know that there's not something missing. Right. It's kind of there's an interesting thing just out of curiosity. Mm-hmm. Did your youngest sister ever feel left out? Yeah. And actually, people thought she was the adopted one. Oh yeah, because you guys look so much alike, so much different. And she's like, I hate that. Why am I the? And I'm like, well, sorry. And then there's always people would joke like, you would tell your youngest sibling like, oh, you're adopted. Yeah, that's why. Like I would turn it around, and I would be like, we were chosen. They're stuck with you. Like, man. Things where I'm like, only an adopted
Sisters
person.
Are ruthless,
right?
Man.
Like,
ruthless.
I was so mean, but it was just like, or I would be like, you ruined our family of 5. We can't do the family of 4 vacation package because you got here. And she's like, I'm so sorry. Like, things, obviously, that she could not control. None of us could control. It was just things where I was like, I'm going to twist this around and make it to where adoption is the best and not something where people are like, yeah.
Sisters are ruthless. Like, people think like brothers, they're like, oh, they fight and this stuff like that. No, like but you just don't know how ruthless they are till they're like in their 30s and they're telling stories.
Yes. We were talking about that the other day. I was like, I can't get in trouble for this, so I'm going to tell you. Yep. Here, Mom, this is what happened. And she's like, what?
There's like a statute of limitations. Yes. It's like, you can't, I'm too big to spank. Okay. Right, like, that's just like, that's not, And so, and so it sounds like adoption was it was a positive thing in so many, it was just a fact of life.
Yes, it wasn't, I guess now, and I feel like the term gets used a lot, so maybe that's why I can qualify it as that, I guess. But like, I never would have said, oh, I had trauma from my adoption. Like, it just was, because it was never treated that way, right? Like, it was just, you are, and we love you, and everything's, I don't know, it was just normal, I guess. Yeah. Now I'm like, well, maybe, I guess to some level there was the separation, and I guess you could call it trauma, but it was never something like, I've never used it as like, oh, there's this, I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
and so let me see if I'm capturing it. Do you mean like in the beginning of life as like an infant, it's like without being able to cognitively understand, there was something like, wait, this isn't how it's supposed to be. Like all of the sudden, like there's a very, do you mean like in the very biological sense of a
yeah, I mean,
newborn
there's
supposed to be with
obviously,
their
right.
like, yeah,
So
exactly.
there is a form of, right, trauma.
Yes.
But like, I feel like now I don't look back on it and be like, oh, that was such a traumatic,
No.
like it just was like, this was how it was. And I am grateful to my parents for just like, this is how it is. Like it was just this normal thing. It was never anything that was, I don't know.
Yeah.
I wasn't treated differently. Nothing.
No, it was never
just,
like behind the hand.
yeah,
It
no,
was never
yeah.
like,
It wasn't
oh,
like
well.
I found out when I was 13.
Yeah.
Like it was just like, this is it.
Yes.
And it was natural.
Absolutely. And you said it well earlier. You were like, that's already such a difficult season of life. And yeah, it's like, that's when we're like looking for the flaws in ourselves. That's when we're looking to others to show us and to validate and to tell us about who we are, right? It's like you watch any middle school age kid, they say something and then they watch everybody's reaction, right?
Yeah.
It's like we're using the world around us as a mirror. And I mean, many of us do that as adults. Like it's like we don't outgrow that. And I mean, like that's relatable. Like I feel like, we all do that. But, and so I can't imagine like now you have this extra curveball.
Yeah.
You have this extra component of, you know, in quotations, like life isn't, this isn't how this isn't how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
It can feel, or it's different than others. And so it's anyway.
Yeah.
And so difficult stage of life. And it's really interesting because I maybe you'll appreciate this because you're a writer, but are you familiar with like narrative arc, like the way that, right? And so it's what you're talking about is just such a beautiful example of this. And if you're listening and you're not familiar, it's if you ever watch, stories kind of follow a really interesting template. It's like you have this equilibrium and then all of a sudden there's this struggle, there's a drop. It's a moment where you're like, not everything's okay with the world, and it's almost like it drops. And then you have to fight not to get back to the same equilibrium, but to come to a new place. And so let's talk about that, because it sounds like 13, we start to see this drop. And so let's kind of, and it's not that you can't have multiple drops, but let's start like what was distinctly different at 13 and what were you feeling?
Yeah. It's a good question. What was I feeling? So I ended up finding a letter. And so I love that this series is called Letter Truth, because I feel like that's been like, it started with a letter, but then I communicated best writing letters, and just obviously writing is very helpful. So I ended up finding a letter that I, quote, didn't know about.
Or you weren't supposed to know about?
I wasn't supposed to know about because I was 13 and not mature enough. But when you find it at 13, it's like the world is ending. And so my world was ending because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm being lied to, like all these things. And hindsight, I'm like, that is why they didn't tell you about it, because you couldn't handle it. And it just was this communication that my biological dad was wanting, I don't know, some sort of relationship. And the adoption I had, legally there was supposed to be no contact till I was like 18. And then things could change. Before 18, it had to be my choice. So anyways, it was just this letter that I found. And so it just started this catalyst of like, oh, I've been lied to, like all this. And so I was like, I want to meet them. And then it was a whole year later. And I ended up meeting them with my parents, like with me. Like it was all, they were on board because that's what I wanted. I've asked my mom now as an adult, I'm like, why did you let that happen? She's like, you would have done it anyways, so we might as well be with you. And I was like, well, thank you very much for that. And then throughout that time, I also later was found out like there was a lot of groundwork that she had to do to make that meeting happen, because agency closed or just files were lost, things like that, where she did a whole lot to make it happen. Wow. That I'm like, that's like the love of mother. I didn't understand until I had a kid, and I'm like, oh, I get that. Yeah. Like, wow.
And even understanding, because now as a parent, it's like you do things for your kids, understanding that they are not going to appreciate it.
Yes.
And yet you do it anyway. And I can imagine like your mom going and doing this work and knowing it's important to you and knowing you're not going to see and recognize it and knowing, you know, it's like,
well, and then not knowing how I would like what the end result would be.
Yeah.
Like, because I couldn't tell besides like, I want to do this. It was just like, but why? What are you wanting out of it?
What a great question,
to
though.
the day, like, I still don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I just felt like I needed to. And hindsight, it's like, well, maybe you should have waited because you were not
Maybe so.
ready for that.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously we can't change that. So I ended up meeting them, and in the course of that, found out that I have 2 younger full brothers who were not placed for adoption. And so that had its own, that was like, obviously, that was crushing for me, because then that started the whole, well, I'm unwanted, I'm unloved, I'm just like this like wave of rejection, and just struggling through that and realizing later, many years later, that it wasn't rejection. It was like a different level of love that I will never, ever, like, I remember when Corey was born, being in the hospital, they handed her to me and I was like, absolutely not. And then being like, that was when it was like, that was a whole different level of love, because I love this child so much. She's been in my arms for 30 seconds and there's no way I would place her with somebody else. And then being like, but the amount of love I have now, there has to be a different level for her to be like, it's okay. I know I can't do this and you can do it better. And like, so things change when you're a parent. You just like learn different things where you're like, I was like blind to this, obviously, as a child.
This was, you here at 13 was just such the significant pivot point that I think we've all experienced kind of those pivots in life, but yours, I mean, we can't always put our finger on it. And I feel like you have this very distinct moment, and which I can't even imagine what that was like at the time, because you don't have the hindsight, you don't have the maturity that you have now looking back at it. And so let's walk forward from that moment. What did life look like kind of after all these pieces came together?
It was hard, like realizing that there were full brothers and stuff. It just like, I struggled so much with my identity and with rejection that I mean, I needed to be pulled from school. I did not have some healthy thoughts. My parents needed to keep a better eye on me for a little bit. And we were able to regroup. And that year I grew closer to my parents in some ways, because I was homeschooled and I got to go on a trip with each of them, just me and them. And so just those relationships, they kind of got stronger, but there was still this underarching thing of like, I still felt rejection. And that just carried over through high school and then in college. And I was looking for any kind of identity, any kind of worth from anyone, anything besides the Bible and God. Like just getting in with the wrong crowd, purposefully leaving Christian people because I was feeling judged. Now it's like, well, they were just trying to lovingly help me get back on track. And I'm like, I wasn't ready for any of that.
Recognize it, yeah.
And most of those people I've been able to reconnect with. And that's been good, that I can see like God, I don't know, it's like full circle. Like, oh, thank you for coming back to my life and knowing where I was and seeing everything I've been through. But yeah, just looking for my worth in guys or other relationships. And there's just a lot of toll like that. And just trying to find, who I was. Yeah. Because I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah. Big picture, it's like what you were saying. It's, it's like you hit a point, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it's like, you're like, I don't want to exist. Right. Like, I do not want to be here. I don't want to exist. And so it's like your worth was like, it was in the basement. Yeah. And so then it was like, okay, there's nowhere to go. And from there, but trying to find things that give you value, and sought out in all numbers of different ways that it sounds like weren't fulfilling, didn't work for you.
Yes.
And I love that those folks came back around full circle. That's really great. And, but the thing is, you weren't going to find it in them either. Right. Yeah. And even then you mentioned judgment. 'Cause I think so many folks that have have been in community with Christians, or are, you are a believer and you've been in community with other followers of Jesus, is judgment can be something that judgment, and I'm going to air quotes, can be something that's we just don't manage well, because there is something to that like corrective side of like, no, let me come alongside you. Like, hey, bring a brother back. Like, that's, but then there's also that very like, it's a different kind of judgment. It's a self-righteous kind of judgment. It reminds me of, it makes me think of the story, the woman caught in adultery who's brought in front of Jesus.
Yes.
It's like so often where the crowd standing around her with stones in her hands. And what Jesus does is he gets down and he doesn't talk about her. He talks to her.
Yes.
And I think so. And I think it's really difficult because we can feel so judged. And often it's because other followers of Jesus, they just don't handle it well.
Yeah.
And if I had to guess, I would say you experienced a blend.
Yes.
Likely.
Yeah. There was I'm not going to hang out with you because you hang out with so-and-so. And then I know that there were some that were like, hey, like, I want to walk through this with you. Yeah. And like, let's try to get you back. And I was like, no, you're judging me. Yeah. Like, why are you telling me what to do? And I'm like, oh, such a brat.
Well, no, I mean,
like listen to, just being open to listening to what other people are saying. Yeah. And not just immediately putting walls up.
Yeah.
Probably would have helped me a little more.
Yeah. But I don't think you can fault yourself at all for that. You were trying to protect yourself. You were trying to because you were already trying to escape really negative feelings and find value, because it doesn't feel good to not have value. And so you, to the best of your ability, like you weren't waking up every day being like, I'm not doing my best today. Like you were doing your best with what you had, with the resources, with your own maturity and your thought process and what you had. Like you were absolutely doing your best. And sometimes those walls, or even the bratty walls, like, no, that's us, our brain trying to solve a problem, which is, how do I protect myself? How do I, whatever that looks like, or how do I keep doing what I'm doing? Well, sometimes that feels like protection, right? Yeah. It's got to keep the status quo. And so, I mean, I can say with confidence, you were doing your best. It just looked different than probably what was best for you.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And so walking through, there was just this trend of trying to find identity, really struggling with value and worth. It continued through, it sounds like, through high school into college. And so where was the, because that's not where you are today.
Right.
That's not who you are today.
Yeah.
So something changed between then and now. Tell me about like when things changed for you.
Yeah. So I met this guy, and
it's always
a guy. And he was like, oh, I go to this church. And I was like, oh, me too. Which I had gone to that church. It had been a while, but I was like,
it's like you see somebody, it's like they're wearing a Harvard sweatshirt. It's like, you went to Harvard? They're like, yes, I went to Harvard.
Yes,
in they like physically went there once. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Where I was like, yeah, I go there too. And he's like, oh, great. Like, and so, I started going more, and it was definitely because which I always knew throughout this whole time. I knew what I wanted in life. I knew I wanted to get married. I knew I wanted to have kids. I knew that I should be with a Christian guy. I wasn't going to attract a good Christian guy at that point. But I always knew that's what I wanted. But I also felt like I was too far gone to get that. And that I wasn't going to anyways. So it was like this, I knew what I wanted, but I also thought I couldn't get it because I wasn't worthy, or I wasn't performing, or whatever it was. And so when he was like, hey, like, let's go, I was like, all right, yeah, I can be more consistent in my attendance. Sure. And yes, it was because that's who he thought I was. And he didn't know how I was really acting before.
Okay. Yeah.
And so he came in, and it was one of those days where I had been at church, and he was like, yeah, okay. Anyway, so we started going again, and it was 100%. It started with me being like, I know who I'm supposed to be. Yeah. So I'm going to act like how I'm supposed to act. And then it very quickly, like 3 or 4 times after being back in attendance church, being like, oh, it was easy to just, I don't know, change my ways, turn away from what I was doing in a sense, because one, he didn't know that side of me. So it was easy to be like, okay, I can be a different person because he didn't have that knowledge, I guess. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
It's almost like when you're on an airplane, and I'm super introverted, so I don't do this, but it's like it's like folks get next to each other and they don't know each other, and they're not going to see each other again in that way. It's and so they don't have the background, they don't have skin in the game, and it's easier to have some conversations there. And I wonder, it's like, you've gone to somebody who doesn't know maybe the parts of yourself that you don't like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so now you're like, wait, I don't have to be this self-fulfilling prophecy. Right. Yeah. Like I can be a different version. And it's interesting. You were talking about like going to church, and you were like, oh, it's so interesting how at first it was just emotion, but then things like click back into place. And it's so funny because I think sometimes whatever the thing is, big, small, we're like, oh man, I want to be back over there.
Yes, yeah.
Like I want to, like in a better place mentally, physically, spiritually, whatever. I want to be way over there. And it's like, have you tried these simple things? And it's like in our mind, it's not enough.
Right.
You're like, I can't do enough to get back to where I want to be. So it's hopeless. Yeah. But even I've heard so many stories like yours. It's like, you know what? I committed to going to church. Yes. You know what? I committed to just praying on my commute, to doing whatever. Yeah. And it's crazy how just those little things. My very favorite Bible verse, I feel like over the last like several months, I've like talked about this verse like 100 times, which I'm okay with, is where Zerubbabel is tasked with rebuilding the temple, and it's taking too long and everybody's getting angry. And God says, through the prophet, he says, do not despise these small beginnings, because the Lord rejoices to see the work begin, to see a plumb line in the hand of Zerubbabel. Which, side note, we were cleaning out my granddaddy's shed because he's just moved, and I found a plumb line, and Wes like fixed it, and I hung it up. I wanted to bring it to put it up, but anyway, and so it's like hanging in a thing. It's really cool.
Oh,
anyway,
so
sorry.
cool.
And so it's like, no, these small beginnings, it's so easy to go, I am too far gone, and there isn't enough that I can do to get back over, in God's favor or whatever, which there's terrible logic. It's not how it works, but it's always so interesting how it's just like, you know what? I just did the next right thing, and how it began to break you out of this, even,
And I can't be like, oh, this is what the sermon was about this, but I remember sitting there being like, oh, I was supposed to hear that.
Yep.
Or that song hit differently, even though I had probably heard it 100 times before. Just things that was like, God was working even then, and I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
But it helped me. And then like, because he didn't know certain things, we were able to have conversation. I mean, I was honest I'm like, I'm about to have a relationship with this guy. I should probably tell him something. So I was honest in some areas, and we were able to talk things through, but then we decided, okay, well, yes, we've made mistakes in the past, but we're going to do this relationship right.
Yeah.
And so being able to like finally do a relationship like biblically the way God has it laid out was so freeing, because it was like, we're both on the same page. We both want the same thing at the end. Like, it was different than any other relationship because we were spiritually on the same page.
Yeah.
And wanting the same things.
Yeah. And we didn't talk a ton about this, but you, like, your faith throughout, my understanding. And so let's go. I mean, you had a young version of faith.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's, and then, it's life gets hard. And then all of the sudden it's like, I always think about it. It's like we it's like our kids learn about, close your ears, kids. Our kids learn about like Santa Claus, or they learn about like whatever the thing is, and it's like, and we tell the stories like that, but like, it's like God doesn't mature past like Santa Claus. Right. And so it's tough, but especially if something's difficult happens. And so it sounds like you had a relationship with God, but like it was the furthest thing from your mind in the season. And so just for clarity for myself and those listening, the faith was there and it was under there, but it wasn't like, that's because you had the Christian friends and you had that. Yeah.
Like I knew all the church answers. I mean, I can tell you all about the Bible, but it's from the, like we were saying, the children's Bible point of view. Like, there was so many things that not until the last couple of years where I was like, I'm sorry, that's in the Bible? Like
who put that there?
Is this a new edition? How long has that been there? And there's been lots of different things that have played into me, like realizing I need to read the actual Bible for myself all the way through, and not just relying on my childhood faith.
Yes.
Because there is a difference I am learning between the childhood faith and the childlike faith.
Wow.
Because there are some things that I will not have answers to, and I will have to believe like a child.
Yes.
But I also have to get past whatever I learned as a child and apply it and learn it now as an adult.
Yes. It's not about, it's like it needs to be different words.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like we need an unjaded faith,
Mm-hmm.
and while also striving to become more mature
Mm-hmm.
in our faith walk. It's like it's so interesting, and but it's just such a perfect and beautiful analogy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that there's something so incredible about doing work for kids.
Mm-hmm.
Is that you get to see that and you get to
Yes.
bring that together. And so has that led us up? Any other, like, that leads us up to your story. You've walked
Yes.
us through all these
Yes.
pieces.
Just, going through, I mean, feeling overwhelmed. Like, it was just a wave. I always felt like I couldn't get above water with just the mere thought of thinking about my adoption, thinking about anything. I had questions, but I didn't know, or I wanted answers, but I didn't know the questions I had. Everything was overwhelming. And then walking through, and now I'm so glad, like, I know I can pinpoint things that God was there. I was saved from XYZ because God was there. There's no other reason that I would have ended up where I am now if God hadn't been there. And looking back and being like, oh, or even like Colin and I talk, like, if we had met a month before, him and I both were not ready for a relationship that would end in marriage. Like, it wouldn't have happened. And so just knowing that every single step was God placed, even if it was hard, even if I could go back and maybe change it, knowing that it got me here, I'm so grateful for. And knowing now, like, there were so many people that didn't give up on me, even if I rejected them or turned away from them, like adults that prayed for me for those 10 years, where I'm like, thank you. And also, I'm not that person anymore.
Yeah.
Like, but you actually see that I'm not that person. And those prayers from those people, it's just, I'm so thankful for that there is a group of people that were like, I'm going to pray for you, because that's all I can do right now. You're not going to listen, but I can pray for you, and God can work on your heart. And very grateful for those people.
Yeah. I have two questions. I want to come back to what you were just saying here, and then I want us to look at your letter. But when do you think you went from that moment of really struggling with identity and value? And because I know so many of us experience this, was there a key moment for you, or has it been like a growing over time? That, like, where did you really, like, look back and go, it's like, sometimes we can't see it in the moment, but then we look back and we're like, oh my gosh, I'm not the same person that I was, or I don't struggle with these same things the way that I did before. Yeah. And so where do you think, like, somebody that's like, is in that mental space, if you will, of like, of going, I don't know, like, how do you find your identity? How do I start to value myself? I wish that I could, but I don't. Like, what did it look like for you? When did you look back and realize that you had redeemed that had been redeemed? Yeah.
It was definitely a process, and it was those little steps of, I started going to church. I'm going to read my Bible. I'm going to start hanging around people that are going to build me up and that want the same things. Just little steps and then I was able to look back and be like, there has been a change. I just didn't realize it, like you said, in the moment. Because now here I am, like, I'm wanting my kids to grow up biblically. Like, all of my decisions, like, okay, well, is this biblical? Like, should I be doing this? Should this be the decision? And, like, I think back and I'm like, the fact that I even have those thoughts, I'm like, that's a huge step, because like, I'm
who
like,
am I?
Who cares? Just make the decision. I'm like, okay, well, no, let's pray about it. Like, things where I'm like, it's just natural now. And that was because it was little steps towards now.
Yes.
And God working and being like, I'm your savior. No one else can be your savior. Your value is through Christ only. Your worth is through Christ only. Nothing else you do, it doesn't matter. I'm going to, like, I've always thought about, like, how many opportunities have I missed to share Jesus or to further the kingdom, but then realizing God still used me not stepping up. Like, I'm still being used whether I choose to submit or not. God, I'm not going to mess up God's plan.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I can, like, look back and be like, oh, this was God's plan for my life. And we're here.
It's an interesting thought because it's an interesting thought that God doesn't need anything from us, but there's so much that he wants for us.
Yes.
And that's not the like go and do whatever you want. No, but like looking and going like, no, God had something better for me. And that's incredible. And it's like your journey's so beautiful of like, I looked everywhere and where I ended up finding my purpose and all, I mean, like all of that. It's just such a beautiful story. And so I want to jump into your letter, but I have one more question before we do that. You had mentioned how looking back, you could see how God was in lots and lots of little moments, even maybe when you couldn't see them at the time. And I think a lot of people have experienced these kinds of moments where they're like, God isn't anywhere. And so can you give me like an example of a time that maybe you didn't see it at the time, but that God was very much there in that moment? And because I think maybe in your story, somebody else could see where God is maybe in their story right now with them too.
Yeah. Like my parents, it was always the biblical love. Like, I'm going to correct you in love, but I always knew that I could go back. Like, there was no, oh, you've messed up one too many times. Like, you can't come. It was always, you've messed up. I still love you. God still loves you. Let's work on this. And most of the time I was like, okay, I know you're mad at me. Bye. I'm going to go back to college, or I'm going to whatever. But I always knew I could go home.
Yeah.
And now, I don't know. I feel like as a parent, I've learned more theology as a parent than like any other time because I'm like, if you would listen the first time to what I'm telling you. And then I'm like, how many times does God say that to me? Just like, if you would listen the first time, or I don't know, things like that where I'm like, or we were saying, you're not going to have the cookie now. Well, why? Because you have cake later, but I'm not going to tell you that now, but like, it'd be better if you waited.
Oh, I never thought about that. Like, it's like you don't tell your kid about the surprise because then they get weird about it. And it's God's like, I have really awesome things for you, but you can't be cool, man. So it's like,
just chill for a little bit. And it's like, so many theological things I've learned as a parent.
Yeah. But I love that you just got this glimpse. It's like God provided you this glimpse of his character through your family. And this almost like, I don't know if you'd like relate, but it's like the prodigal son type.
Oh my gosh. Yes. That. Okay. There we go. There's your okay. So in middle school, high school, I went to Young Life, youth, we were in church. And every single time, that story was part of the lesson. I knew that night or the next morning, my parents were going to come confront me about something every single time.
Like they were in cahoots with like your youth leaders.
I was like, there was one where it was like Sunday morning was a message about that. And I got in trouble for something. Monday, Young Life, same lesson, got in trouble. Wednesday, I was like, all right, God, like I am understanding that this is me. And it was just one of those things where I would like just start racking my brain of like, what did they find out now? And then realizing it could have been all kinds of things. And it's just time for that to end. Like, stop being on your phone after bedtime when you're not supposed to. Like things where it's like simple things where it's just stop doing it. But as a middle school or high school, it's like the biggest thing ever. Cause I'm like, oh, I'm getting in trouble again.
Well, because it has so much to do with your heart.
Yes. But just like now realizing that was God being like, I'm here. I want you to come back. And I'm giving you the opportunity to come back. And here's your sign that it's about to happen. How are you going to react?
Wow.
And I didn't always react positively.
I
I
don't
was
know
not
that.
always the prodigal going, I'm so sorry, I will eat with the pigs. Like, no, it was most of the time I was like, all right, I'm going to stay over here until
It's
I'm
like you're
done.
somehow simultaneously the brother
Yes.
that stayed and the brother
Yes.
that left. It's just like you're like
Always.
self-righteous and
Yes.
it's like,
I'm like,
yeah,
I'm fine. I'll stay over
nice.
here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's I love that. And so if you are so what specific
Mm-hmm.
era, or tell us about like who you're writing this letter to. You're writing this letter to you. That's
To
how this
me.
works.
I'm
But
writing
yeah.
it to me. Yeah, those 10 years, about 10 years of just rejection and looking for identity in all the wrong places
All right.
and then finding it again.
Awesome. Well, I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Okay.
I'm excited to eavesdrop on your
Eavesdrop.
letter to you.
Okay, dear Lyndy, I know you're searching for something. You don't know why, but you're hurting. You want answers, but don't have the exact questions. You're surrounded by people who love you deeply, but still feel all alone. I know you feel like you're drowning. I remember the hopelessness you're feeling. You're trying to carry this all by yourself, partly because you feel like a burden and because you don't know how to put into words what you're searching for. Your feelings of rejection are overwhelming, making even the slightest thought of it feel like it could drown you. I wish you could see that you're not alone, that God is with you through this. I know you are struggling with who you are. I wish you could see that you are already being held by the one who will fill your voids. In every single struggle, misstep, and dark moment, God is with you and he's gently bringing you back. When you're running from your Christian friends, he will bring you back together when the time is right. When you're searching for your worth in guys, he will show you that your worth is only found in Christ. The feelings towards your adoption, the rejection, the hurt, the feelings you can't put into words, everything will change once you encounter God as your Father in a whole new way. Seeing him in this new light will relieve you of so much hurt, and God is going to show you just how loved and wanted and chosen you really are. You know in your heart what you truly want in life and who you want to be, but you feel like you have gone too far to ever be that person. Soon you will grow so tired of trying to do life your own way. You will willingly turn back to God and find more happiness, joy, and peace than you ever thought possible. You'll read Ephesians 1 in a whole new light, understanding what it means to be adopted into God's family from a different perspective. Realizing you're adopted twice will change your outlook on life, and you'll be radically changed because of it. You're wanted and chosen just because you are you. You don't have to strive to perform to earn love. God saw you, knew you, and chose you before you took your first breath. You are deeply wanted, not for what you do, but simply because you are his. You are made in the image of God, and that is enough. You bear the imprint of the Creator himself. You are not lacking, not a mistake, and not forgotten. Just as you are, you reflect his beauty and intention. God's grace is more comforting than anything else you search for, and redemption is never too far out of reach. No matter how far you feel, grace reaches further. Redemption isn't for the perfect, it's for the willing, and it's always closer than you think. When others correct you, it is out of love, because love does not delight in wrongdoing. Loving correction is not rejection, it's protection. When people speak truth into your life, it's because your growth matters, and so do you. God has been there, is there, and will be there with you through every moment. You are not alone. He's the God of your past, present, and future, and every high and every low, every silence and cry, he is with you, constant, faithful, near. You won't believe where God takes you. You're going to write for healing and for peace, but also for others. God is going to use your story and gifts to reach others. I'm so proud of how far you've come. You yearn to read the Bible and for knowledge about him. This will spark a desire to write studies for children to understand his word better, and a whole ministry dedicated to helping families read and learn God's word together. You're not going to get all the answers you're seeking. However, you will find peace and confidence knowing that he works all things for good. You'll find an unexplainable peace, rich with joy, that your heart can settle into with ease. You'll reflect on this chapter with gratitude, recognizing how even the hard moments were held by God's faithful hand, with trust in God's timing from the one he never let go of.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for listening to the Everyday Truths podcast. I hope Lyndy's story was just a blessing to you today. I had so much fun recording this episode with her. And if you want to go and check out any of Lyndy's work, I'm leaving those links wherever it is that you're listening to this episode. And you can go and you can check those out. Now, next week, we will be jumping into another story, another letter to me, and it's another good one. So I hope that you will hop on and listen with us. And so we'll see you next time.